Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Nothing Zilch Nada. If you are unfamiliar with what we do, basically we talk about nothing in particular, have not a clue what we're going to say, and there's zilch thoughts in our head until we say it. This is also completely unscripted, so of course you'll get stuff like that. Joining me today is your host, Dr. Green, or Doc Green for short, and I am your other host, Professor Dean. So how are you doing, Doc Green?
The time rift is just all over the place today.
What was that?
I say the time rift is all over the place today.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, anyway, to try to reiterate what we do, basically, we pick three topics. One topic just as a fun conversation starter, and then two topics for the overall conversation, just to talk through it. To promote healthy communication, as we say a lot of ums and uhs. Because again, unscripted because I can't follow a script to save my life.
We're not experts at this. We're not like we don't have like PhDs hanging on our walls that we're great conversation experts. But
Yeah, no, uh, no PhDs on podcasting. So I'm wondering, would that make I is there like an education major or not education, college major for podcasting?
uh,
I mean,
I'm not sure. I don't think so because here's the thing. I don't think running a podcast is not as different as running a radio talk show, you know.
well, I mean, I guess.
I guess. I mean,
I'm sure you have to have training for that as well.
man, well, training, but training is different from like education. It's not like,
Mm.
oh, I'm applying for Subway and I have to go to college just so that way I can work at a Subway. No, you
You
just
do
have
have to go to
to
Subway University. That is an
that
actual
is
thing we
not
do.
that is not a legit
It's
university.
online, but it
You
is a
get
university.
do you get a degree from it?
Yes, you get a degree in sandwich artistry.
That's,
So technically,
that's not what
no, technically I have two degrees now. I've got an associate's degree and a sandwich artistry degree. So,
Well, I have a bachelor's degree, which beats out both of those, so
hey, I'm getting mine in December.
I got mine first.
You really want to go there with me? I'm gonna be
Hey, you were the
honest.
one that you were the one that brought up that Subway is an actual university. So
Okay, I'm not the one who went with I got my degree first. Uh, all right. So with that, Jake, how's your life so far today?
life's been going pretty good, just getting classes situated and whatnot. We're kind of in the midpoint of the semester, I think. I'll
Yes.
I'll just say that compared to like previous years of college, I have not been keeping track of like what week we're on.
I mean
I
that.
think part I think part of that fact is because none of my classes have like a structured syllabus. It's
Hmm.
not like we have assignments that are like, oh, it's due like December 19th, 2024 or something like that. It's kind of like it'll get posted when we get to it. It's not like you don't have time to do the assignment. You at least have a week to
Right.
study or prepare for the assignment. But it's not a big deal. I mean, the classes that I'm doing, they're not particularly hard, you know.
Right. Right. All right.
No, but besides that, you know, just been practicing my horn, just been um working some stuff out, going to a lot of live gigs too, which I
Mhm.
think that's something I kind of missed out a lot on as a music major at my previous university.
Okay.
Because like don't get me wrong, I attended a lot of concerts at our university, but jazz gigs weren't they weren't a weekly basis, so to
Yeah.
say, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did have concerts and whatnot, but I think part of that reason is because, you know, outside of campus, there wasn't really that many places to gig at compared to like Urbana-Champaign, where there are like a whole bunch of places to gig at. Like you got all the different taverns, you got some restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
you got all the different concert venues at the university or even outside of campus and whatnot. Now, I haven't really performed at any of them yet, besides one tavern for like the weekly jam sessions that happen on Wednesdays, which is like from 10 to 12. And I like that the jam sessions are weekly and that anyone can attend. It's kind of like a turn by turn basis. You,
Mm-hmm.
there's a house band, they perform first. They only play like two tunes or three. And you put your name on a form and then you call out a tune and then you play the tune and then you get off the stage and then the next person on the list plays.
All right.
Yeah. Now, sometimes it's a low turnout, you know, because people are busy and whatnot, but you'll get some great turnout sometime. I mean, last week we had a great turnout of people showing up. Um, a lot of saxophone players
Right.
uh, from my area. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, but besides that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, things have been going just fine. Um,
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool.
so
Cool.
how about you?
Oh man, I was so hoping we would skip that. No, I've been doing pretty fine. I am at a point in my teaching where I have a month and a half left for student teaching, which is very stressful, considering I
Wow.
feel like I still have quite a few things I need to do better at for teaching in order for me to become a teacher. Uh,
Yeah, but even some of the teachers that like do have their degrees, you know, even they aren't the best teacher when they start out, you know.
no.
It just comes from like years of experience, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like
That. What was that?
like my mom, you know, she homeschooled me and my siblings or most of my siblings. I was the only one that was homeschooled all the way from like kindergarten up until I graduated high school. But she would tell me that even when she started teaching, and she got her associate's degree in teaching K
Mm-hmm.
through 12 and whatnot, and is taught at like public schools and whatnot.
Right.
Um, but even she said that like, you know, it took a while for her to get something structured down. You
Mm-hmm.
know, try to find things that worked and what didn't work.
Right.
Now that there's a little bit of a difference there because, you know, because you're going to be going into public school education
Mm-hmm.
for the
Yep.
most part. You know, you have some set stuff already that you have to follow and whatnot.
Yes.
Sure, you'll probably have some leeway, but
The only leeway I get is that I'm going into special education, so can make accommodations based off my students. So the big thing
yeah,
about so the big thing about teaching is when you're teaching, you have to follow a strict curriculum. That's a lot of thing a lot of people don't get. they think that, oh, you're teaching, so you're teaching what you want. No, we have a curriculum we have to follow, usually paid for by our school district. And like I said, I get to be an exception because I am a special ed, or I'm going into special ed, so I get to make accommodations for my students so that I can, or so that they could still learn what they need to while also, you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
anyway, a lot of like public school teachers, they don't get the same leeway just because they're teaching, the general group. So,
yeah, yeah. I think that should be the case. And I'll just say this because I don't know if we fully talked about this before, and if it isn't, well, this is something we could probably talk about today, is like because like growing up, um being homeschooled and being experiencing some public school environment type things, I had to have accommodations,
hmm
um, specifically for language-based subjects.
right.
Um, I remember, I can't remember exactly how long it lasted, but I want to say between the age of, let's say, 7 and 12, I was taking speech classes on the side.
hmm
And for a while, I was going to a different grade school for that. Grade school that both of us probably know for sure.
Probably. I'm sure I know
It,
it.
yeah. But anyways, I had a great speech teacher over
hmm
there. That was a big help for me.
Right.
Uh, and then for a while, I went to a different grade school that's like more on the junior high level,
hmm
same town and whatnot. And I learned the rest till I was like 11 or 12. I can't remember when I stopped. But even after I took all those speech classes, I still had to have accommodations
Right.
for some of the subjects that I took. And those accommodations basically were, most of them had to do with like further explanation for certain topics,
hmm
or in most cases when it came to like taking a test that I needed extra time.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, and that's the same for a lot of students. A lot of students will
Mhm.
have accommodations like, extended time during tests, reading
Mhm.
or readings be read aloud to them,
Mhm.
frequent breaks, stuff like that. No, but anyway, going back to my life, besides all that, chasing my sister around and working at Subway, life's pretty good. All right, so now let's go to our first, starter topic. Again, the topic that's shortened just to get our juices flowing. And I've had this conversation with several people within the past 2 weeks, and it is to a point that I'm starting to get annoyed that I'm having this conversation. So, you know how Halloween's around the corner, right?
Yeah, just in about 2 weeks from now.
Yep, 2 weeks from now. So, I've gotten into conversations with people because they have started putting up their Christmas decorations. So, so the topic for right now is when is the appropriate time to start putting up Christmas decorations?
Well, I well, I'll be the first to say that you aren't the first to like have this discussion with people. I
Oh, I
know,
am well aware. I'm sure
yeah,
everyone has had this conversation at some point.
at some point, but I know that I bring it up a lot. I know I talk about this with my family a lot because we're all annoyed by it.
hmm
Now, I guess this is more than just Christmas, but let's just start off with Christmas first anyways. Yeah, I don't like the fact that Christmas decorations are up on October.
No.
Now, I understand the reason. uh why
I don't.
that is
Like,
why
what?
that is the case. Well, I guess I should say I understand the reason why certain companies
Okay.
or certain stores like to have their Christmas decorations up. I still
Well,
disapprove
that's
of it though.
that's different. That's different. I'm
It
talking
it
like
it it
actual
it, it,
people. You know,
oh, it in some aspects they're in it for the money. I'll just say that. They're in it
yes.
for the money for the most part.
Hmm.
You know, people are saying, "Oh, Christmas is about all the cheer and joyful wonders of the world." Just kidding, it's
Nope.
money.
Nope. It's capitalism. 100% capitalism.
What isn't being affected by capitalism today?
This podcast, because we are doing this for free. Poor
Hey.
college students starting a podcast. So,
Yeah. Um,
uh,
yeah, but anyways, no, in terms of like general use of Christmas decorations,
mhm.
um, have them up by like December at like early December at the earliest
Okay.
because here's the thing, you put them up in October, like not only have you probably have not gone past Halloween yet, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna get to Halloween in a moment because I have similar issues for that.
Right.
And but we haven't even gone through Thanksgiving yet,
No, no, we have
and
not.
and Thanksgiving
We do
and
not forget about
Thanksgiving,
Turkey Day.
yeah, but Thanksgiving is probably like the one thing where you're like, wait, there are decorations for it? Yes, there
Mhm.
is.
There are a lot of
There,
decorations
there
for it.
they're usually fall themed or
Mhm.
turkey themed,
Yep.
but
Sometimes there's a
no,
cornucopia in the middle of the table. But
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, have them up by early December. And in terms of when you should take it down, um, I know for my family, we usually have it down up on we have it up until like mid-January
Okay.
on a specific day. I think it's like the Feast of the Three Kings, you know.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that technically that's when you should put it down, you
Right.
know.
All
Yeah.
right.
We have a slight exception to that because there's like a nativity set that we have in our house, which I
Mm-hmm.
won't get into now, but that might be a topic for a future podcast.
Wait for the
Um,
Christmas special or the Christmas specials.
and
Oh.
yeah, but anyways, we would have this nativity set up. I want to say at the
Mm.
latest February because my parents like they present it. They give like tours for it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I know you probably haven't seen it yet. Maybe you have.
No, I've seen it.
Okay.
No, there was a time where
Yeah,
I was
because
at your house and I think it was both you and your mother were talking about it. It's like
yeah,
me and two of our other friends.
yeah. Okay, yeah, that might have been last year or even 2 years ago. I know I've invited you over to my place a couple times, but
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, but have your Christmas decorations down probably by mid-January, but don't have them earlier. Don't even have them by November because like, cause here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you put something up too early, like people are just gonna get tired of it that quickly, you
Right.
know. I
So,
mean, my parents, I don't think my parents even put up Christmas decorations until like mid-December
mm-hmm.
at the latest. And
Okay.
the thing is, we have a ton of Christmas decorations in our house. Like
Oh.
like I've explained the nativity, but there's also the Christmas tree, and we have so many ornaments, so many ornaments. Most of them
Mm-hmm.
being made by me or my siblings. You
Well, yeah,
know,
you have to have those
we
homemade ornaments. I mean,
yeah,
it's tradition.
the
How
homemade
else are you
ornaments.
supposed? Yeah, how else are you supposed to know that in elementary school you made a cotton ball Christmas tree with toothpicks and hot glue.
Okay, it wasn't like that.
I know you.
Um,
I know you were
but
homeschooled. You got the sophisticated stuff. It was in elementary school. We weren't even trusted with the glue gun. We just
I
had
I I I used a glue gun under a hot glue gun under my mom's supervision.
no. We weren't even trusted with that. You get cotton balls that you would paint green, and then you'd give them to the teacher so that she would hot glue them on the popsicle sticks.
Yeah. Um, no, don't have Christmas decorations up too early because you do that, people are just gonna get tired of it. It's the same for every holiday, including Halloween. And I have to mention this because much like Christmas, I keep seeing Halloween decorations up in August.
Okay, so that one is a little excessive. That one
Uh,
is. I will
uh,
say, my uncle. No, 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 no. What I mean is having Halloween decorations up in August is excessive. I'm not meaning what you're claiming. I know my uncle had his up the or on the last day of September, but that was more because that was a day off that he had. He figured he might as well do it to get a head start on Halloween decorations.
that makes sense.
Yep.
I
On
mean,
the other, oh,
I'm not gonna get picky. It's not like, oh, you had your Halloween decorations at like the last day of September. How dare you? No.
no.
I I understand.
I will say there is a guy who lives down that way in our neighborhood. And I kid you not, every year around this time, he starts putting up a couple dozen, like life size to tall, Halloween statues. But he will start doing this in the middle of August. And what's worse is, especially the past 2 years when I was driving back and forth, from, my house to my school, whenever I'd come back and I'd see him put some more up, I'm like, whoa, that's new. Oh, he added more. Why? How is he fitting all this in? Because we don't have a big front yard. We may have, I want to say, 15-foot yard or 15 feet out, maybe a little more. His yard is probably smaller than ours. He right now has two full rows lengthwise of these statues, an extra row or an extra column following the driveway, and he has two dragons in his driveway with a statue behind them.
So I just thought of something.
What?
So your grandfather like made the like put the statues up in a row, right?
No, this is just some random guy in our neighborhood. That's not even related
Oh,
to me.
okay. Sorry. I thought you
No, no,
mentioned your
no.
grandfather at one point. Okay, so it's some random guy, and he's putting the statues on the row, and it's like Halloween themed, right?
Right.
Sort of. Okay, so what you're saying is that he just made his own death row.
Yes. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. No, but like I
How
said,
ironic.
right. So he had his up back in August, or he started putting it up in August. And it seems like every week he adds two or three more statues. So what he does is excessive. But anyway, going back to Christmas, because this is where we're going to agree and disagree at the same time. Or we're going to more disagree than agree.
Mhm.
So if you were to ask my mom this question, and I know for a fact this is her answer, the Christmas tree should be up Christmas Eve and taken down Christmas Day. That is her opinion on it, which is way different from my opinion. The way I see it, because I like to do a lot with family, the Christmas tree should come up either Thanksgiving after all the Thanksgiving stuff or Black Friday. And the reason being is because now you've gotten through all of the holidays and putting the Christmas tree together, putting the ornaments on. That's a fun family thing to do. And it's better if you already have your family come together rather than being like, hey, we've got a tree. Whenever you come by, just start putting ornaments on. Or trying to force people to go and put it up. But then when it comes to tearing it down, I would like to say that the tree should be taken down the week of New Year's. Or like the first full week in January. That should be around the time when the Christmas tree gets taken down.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, because it's a full week between
Yeah,
Christmas and New Year's, you're probably not going to want to deal with taking down decorations as well as throwing away a bunch of wrapping paper or tissue paper or all that. So you're
yeah.
going to leave them up, and then New Year's is going to happen, and then the week after New Year's, when you start your resolution, you know, easy resolution. I'm going to clean more around the house. That's when you tear down your decorations. That way you feel accomplished even when you let go of your resolution.
That might be either the stupidest resolution or the most genius resolution.
It is the most genius because no matter what, you put away your Christmas decorations in a reasonable time frame so you feel accomplished. You can spend the rest of your year as a slob most days, still clean. But as long as you take the decorations down as your New Year's resolution, you're good. You're good. You're fine. I mean, granted, that is not how it is at home because my brother, he loves Christmas and it is really hard to take the tree down. So he has his own Christmas tree in his little desk area that stays up year round.
Okay.
And that's his Christmas tree. And then
Mhm.
the big Christmas tree, we try to keep it where where it doesn't come up until at the very least the week before Christmas. Usually it comes up beforehand, but we try to keep it up or at the very least until a week before.
Mhm.
And the Christmas tree we try to take down in January. Sometimes it doesn't go down until February. And again, it is more because of my brother. So there's that. And again, I've asked several people and I've gotten varieties, first day of December is when you take it up. Uh,
Yeah.
last day of December is when you tear it down. I've heard someone say you put it up in September, you tear it down in March. So, you know, I I don't know what happened to them. Uh, and then
Um,
what's up?
oh no, go ahead.
Okay. And then one of my sister's cross country friends, because I tend to give them rides. He had an idea that I wouldn't say I completely agree with, but I like this idea. His idea is you have the Christmas tree up year round, but you change the decorations for the holidays. So you'll have Christmas ornaments up until like New Year's, and then you'll just have winter ornaments for January. February has Valentine's Day ornaments, and so on and so forth, which
Mhm.
I think is really cool if it wasn't for
Mhm.
the fact that it sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest critique of it.
Mhm.
Still, again, though, Christmas is the special time and it should not overstay its welcome. So I
Right.
just thought of something. Have
But
you ever watched Fairly Odd Parents at
yes,
all?
yes, I have.
Okay. Okay, so you probably have seen the episode where Timmy wishes that it was Christmas every day.
Oh yeah, that was the Christmas special where at first it was like, "Yay, Christmas!" And then, schools were completely out, businesses were closed, you can't really buy anything. People were losing
Mhm,
money. And then he gets
mhm,
kidnapped by the other holiday mascots. Yeah.
mhm.
No,
Yeah.
I've never seen that one in my life. I'm just pulling random facts out of my hat. That's a joke, Jake. That's a joke. I
Yeah.
have seen that one.
Yeah, but while it isn't as dramatic as that, um, in some ways it's kind of similar to it in a way because
Hmm.
in that episode, beside all the drama that happens, people are just like tired of it. You
Yes.
know, costs a
Hmm.
lot of money, you know. Some
Hmm.
businesses profit from it, some businesses go out of business because of it,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if it's Christmas every day or you celebrate Christmas every day,
Mhm.
it, you know, no one's really gonna be happy with it. It,
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I feel like the same philosophy should be applied for not just the general public, but also to companies that advertise it. Because
mhm.
here's the thing, it makes sense for me to advertise your Christmas stuff like the week before Black Friday, because that's when most people try to get their Christmas shopping in. Well, I should say some people.
I would go a little sooner than that because I know specifically with my family, we tend to, at the very least, get Christmas lists down for other people just so that we know what to look for.
Yeah.
We try to get those done relatively early. I know, I think it was last week I ended up printing off the Christmas list so that we could go over them. But I know my family, we tend to look for Christmas gifts year round just because, you know, it's Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way too, where if I feel like if I just so happen to find a gift idea that one of my family members like, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this is exactly what they need. It also needs to be at an affordable price too, because
Mhm.
unfortunately I can't
Well, yeah,
pay
but
hundreds of
that's the
dollars.
other reason why we get stuff earlier on, because sometimes it'll be a better price than others. Also, there will be times where we'll be in a different state or somewhere we're not normally there. We find something for a
Mhm.
person and we know we're not going to go back to there, so we get it for them.
Mhm.
I know I've done that in the past with my girlfriend. I've done that in the past with my sister. Specifically, I did it with my sister when we took a trip to Michigan. There was this like gemstone ring type thing that she wanted from one of the shops. I bought it in front of her, and she completely forgot that I had bought it because I didn't, give it to her. And then Christmas came around, she got it, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot about this." So that's another thing. You can buy the stuff in front of the person, and because of how the year goes, chances are they'll forget about it.
Um, Maybe for grown adults or maybe teenagers that are occupied, yes. For young kids, I don't think that tactic will work because I don't know about your
Well,
take, but
see, she was a young kid at the time. I think at the time I was 12 and she was 6. Maybe she was
okay,
5. No.
okay.
Uh,
Well,
all right.
my nieces and nephews are a different breed though.
You get them Christmas presents the day after Christmas for the next year.
No.
Then they'll forget. Be the evil mastermind, Jake. Be the evil mastermind.
I would want to, but I can't plan that far ahead of time. A year is too long. Their interests could change. It's like,
Okay.
oh,
That
in
one,
one year. in one year they're interested in Legos, and next year they're interested in Pokemon.
No, no, they're always going to be interested in Legos. Come on, Legos is
I,
awesome.
I, I was just throwing out an example.
Yeah, but
Hey,
you chose Legos as your example. Like Pokemon,
they
I
actually
understand because
they
eventually,
actually
what?
they actually really like to play with Legos, and so did I back in the day. I think most of
You've
my
grown out of
birthday.
Legos?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm
Okay.
saying that they are still interested in Legos, and
Oh
so am
no,
I.
not them. You grew out of
What?
Legos? Because you said I was into Legos, meaning you used to be into Legos. Are you no longer into Legos, Jake?
No, I am. It's just that, I haven't bought a new set in like how many years. I think about it sometime though, and I think I will one of these days.
Honestly.
But
Well, again, we're poor
but yeah,
college students, so you know.
yeah. I remember during my college years when I was on break, I would take out the old Lego pieces and I would make mock builds of
Mhm.
everything.
Right. Right. All right. So with that, we are running low on time. So Jake, who do you want to start the next topic? You want you or me?
I can start the next topic because I actually got something that came up in my mind recently
All right,
that I think we
cool.
can talk about.
Okay, cool. All right. So when we're back, we're gonna talk about Jake's topic. So we will see you in a little bit. Two, one. And we're back with Jacob Green telling us about his topic. So Jake, what is your topic?
Okay, so we kind of ended our discussion on like, you know, buying Christmas gifts for kids. That's not exactly what I want to talk about, but I do want to pose a question first, and that is, have you ever read short stories?
All the time. Dude, I have a full collection or full-ish collection of the Grimm fairy tales.
Okay.
I have a book on Aesop's fables, and I have some of those blue fairy fables.
Okay. Have you ever read The Curious Case of Benjamin Button? That one?
I have not read that one, but I've seen the movie and I'm very familiar with The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Okay. Um, so I want to say this was like during high school. I think in particular it was my freshman or sophomore year of high school. But I remember in class we one of the things that we did in our literature classes, because the major thing that we did was that we would read a book for
Hmm.
like about, you know, a week, maybe even 2 weeks, and then we would have to find a topic and write a paper about a topic based around the book.
Right.
Like, for example, you you read The Hobbit, which is what we did in high
Hmm.
school. You read The Hobbit, and you read that for like about a week or two, and you pick a topic from from that, and it could be whatever you wanted. It particularly, I think our points were more on the like affirmative or negative side.
Hmm.
So like, oh, why should they have done this? Why shouldn't they have done this? Or, you know,
Hmm.
those kind of discussion points. And you had to like defend your thesis statement.
Right.
Um, but we did other side things too. And one of the things that we did um early on in high school was read short stories. And we had this like big like textbook, and it had like a whole bunch of short stories on it. I
Hmm.
don't remember what other short stories were on there. I remember there was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I remember there were. either one or two Father Brown short stories. Father Brown is a good
Okay.
one to check out, and there's like a whole bunch of
Hmm.
short stories. It's written by G.K. Chesterton.
Right.
Yeah, and I know there's like a PBS show on it. That's how I first got exposed to Father Brown, and it's a really good show. I recommend it.
Hmm.
Um, but the one short story I do remember very well that still has stuck with me to this day, and I think about it all the time because of all the discussions I've had with people on certain topics, and that is little girls are wiser than men. And I believe the short story was written by Leo Tolstoy, and
Okay.
it was written in 1885.
All right.
And now I'm not going to be reading the whole short story because
Right.
it is a short story, but it is
Hmm.
kind of long. But I am
Well,
going to
that plus
summarize it.
there could be a chance for copyright there. I wouldn't think
Yeah.
so, because I think copyright law has it where once it hits 100 years of publication, then it's released to public domain. But
Yeah, that should be the case.
mhm.
Although there are certain people that like to try and take advantage of it. Disney.
Yes. Yes. I'm still waiting on that Mickey Mouse horror movie. We have the
Anyways,
Winnie the Pooh one, we have the Grinch, and we have what's the new one? I think it's Peter Pan. I don't know if that's
I
this year
believe
or
so.
next year.
I'm not sure. I don't keep track of that stuff. But I do want to summarize the short story, and but I do want to quote some of the end because I think it hits home what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
So, little girls are wiser than men. It is about these two little girls, and they're just playing together. And this is like, this is 1885, so this is like out in the country, you
Right.
know. It's like a small town, maybe even a slightly larger town, because there is a group of people involved in the story. There isn't
Hmm.
like a set number or anything, but it's relevant to the story.
Right.
So these two little girls, they're friends with each other. They're probably like 4 years old, 4 to 6 years old or something.
Hmm.
And they belong to like two different families and whatnot. And they play together. They play by
Hmm.
this stream. And
Right.
then one of the girls, plays along the stream, tells the other girl to come in, but that she shouldn't jump in or else her dress, they call it a flock, but I'll call it a dress,
Hmm.
or else their dress will get dirty. But the girl like jumps in anyways. I think it was because she was rushing in too quickly, but anyways, she jumps in and then the other girl's dress gets all dirty
Mm.
and she starts to tell on her. And she goes to her mother, uh, and the other little girl is like tailing behind her. And the other girl, the girl that was running first with the dirty dress was saying, "Oh, she did this even though I told her not to." And the mother scolds the other girl, not her own daughter, the other girl. She scolds her. And then the mother from across the other house sees what she is doing
Hmm.
and then scolds the mother to like the other daughter. And then both of the fathers start to confront one another. And then their neighbors start to confront with one another. And then it gets to
Mm.
the point where the whole town is confronting with one another. And while all this is happening, the little girls have already forgotten what started the fight in the first place because guess what they do? They start playing together
Yeah.
again, already forgetting about what was going on. And in this group of people, there's this elderly woman that's trying to stop the whole chaos and whatnot. I think she's like the older grandmother to one of the little girls. I know
Mm-hmm.
they have names, but I don't think it's that relevant to our discussion. But this is
Right.
where I'm going to be quoting the end. So the older woman, she says to the whole crowd, "Are you not ashamed of yourselves to go fighting on account of these lassies, the girls, when they themselves have forgotten all about it and are happily playing together? Dear little souls, they are wiser than you."
Mm-hmm.
The men looked at the little girls and were ashamed, and laughing at themselves went back to his own house. And this is the lesson. Except ye turn and become as little children, ye shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Okay.
And so to summarize even more what that means is there is something to learn when it comes to childhood innocence and specifically childhood mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I wanted to touch on today because I think this is important for all adults. Doesn't even matter like what age you are right now. It could even uh apply to like teenagers that are in high school right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's appropriate because I mean I read it in high school. So
Right.
but the thing I'm trying to hit home is we have a lot of stuff that goes on in our lives. So many different types of conflicts and drama going on. I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced it. You've experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in our circle has experienced it. The whole entire world experiences it. Doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't
Yes.
even matter what the situation is you're dealing with. There's always this some type of conflict that you're dealing with. But it's one thing it's one thing when you start the conflict, and it's another thing when you get involved with it. And
Right.
it might not even be that big of a situation. It could just be something small. Just
Mm-hmm.
like how the little girls were just playing at the stream and the girl's dress just got all dirty. And they made a whole big deal about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where the town didn't even know what they were fighting about.
So,
And the point of that, the point of the little girls, like they forget about it and they play around. The point of it is like you need to have the mentality of a child sometimes. And I don't mean 2-year-old temper tantrum. I'm
no,
not talking about that. I'm what
I'm
I'm
this
saying.
many. Come on, you knew I was going to do that.
Yeah, I expected nonetheless.
Yeah, it's because I'm
But
this many.
yeah, but I think it's important to learn to forgive and forget. Maybe
Mhm.
not the forgiving part, but more so the forgetful part or the ignorant part, which you usually hear that in terms of a negative context. It's like, oh, they're being ignorant. And sure, sometimes it's not that good to be ignorant if you
Mhm.
don't know how to use it correctly. You know,
Right.
there are some situations where you just can't get involved with because it may not even be related to you. So you have to have the mentality of a child. Just ignore, forget about it,
Mm-hmm.
go about your day because your happiness and your life matters. And
Yes.
that is something I'm constantly reminded about because as you know, and maybe some of the audience in our podcast knows, I have nieces and nephews. I am constantly reminded of this
Mm-hmm.
because every time I think about, oh man, I'm thinking about all these different situations right now that I'm involved in that I never really asked to be a part of. and
Mm-hmm.
some of them can't even be resolved and whatnot. I think about them and how they're not really that worried about it right now. Now, it's not like they don't experience those type of conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
They do, but they'll forget about it. Now, I will also say some kids are different. There are some kids that will hold grudges, and that all depends on how they're raised. Um, but I think one of the main reasons I bring this up is because time and time again, I come across, even through my own circle of friends, of people, it's just like, oh, I hate kids. They're so annoying and they're so unbearable and whatnot. And I'm not saying I disagree. I disagree with those people. I'll agree. Sometimes they're annoying, but that's one side you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Why not the other side? Because, if you only meet someone once, you're probably only seeing one side of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and sometimes it's hard to get multiple sides.
Yes.
Maybe on the occasion you'll meet someone and you'll experience multiple sides of them, but that's a rarity. That is a rarity in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
But but the whole thing about that is yeah, learn to forgive and forget. Have the mentality of a child in terms of, you know, not so much their attitude, but how they'll handle it. They're very young. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the biggest conflict they're probably dealing with right now is what color of crayon should I use?
No, 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 no. See, the biggest conflict they have is they want chicken nuggies. No, 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 no. Dino nuggies. They want
Yeah,
dino nuggies now.
yeah. Um, but so for some of the people that say to me, "Oh, kids are just so annoying and whatnot," I'll agree with them. In
Mm-hmm.
some cases, they might be right, but I also say there's more than meets the eye, you know. And
Yes.
I think
Just.
there are several reasons why I think they feel this way. One is probably, they had a bad experience with like, seeing kids or like trying to babysit them or something, thinking, oh, these kids are
Mm-hmm.
just so annoying, whatnot. And that's understandable. I think the other reason too is like is the fact that they probably did not have that good of a childhood growing up, you know.
Okay.
And there might be some type of jealousy or even envy towards kids' lives and how they have an actual childhood and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there are people who never really have a childhood and yet they've learned to move past that. They don't really have a grudge about it. Sure, they feel bad about the fact that they never got a childhood, but that motivates them that when they have kids of their own, they want to provide the childhood that they never got. And that's how
Right.
some people are able to find their own happiness that way. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's one of the main reasons, well, maybe not the main reason, but one of the reasons why some people want to have kids, to get the childhood, give their kids a childhood that they never experienced before. Now, I'm not in that camp of like, oh, I never got a childhood. I did. I did, and I'm grateful for it. And but if I ever have kids, I know I would want to provide that.
Right.
Provide with that same thing. Not exactly, but I want to be able to make sure their childhood is a pleasant one.
Hmm. I completely agree with that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
will
so
say, oh, I'll let you continue.
no, I was gonna say I kind of said a lot, so I
Right.
want to know what your whole take is on
Okay.
that.
So I'm just gonna point out this entire time I may or may not have been thinking of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but but
That is such
hey,
a good
hey,
comparison.
yes. Well, I compared it to several different things. For example, one of them is what I think is considered the worst episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The secret tunnel episode where you had, I think it was the secret tunnel episode. Basically, you had these two sides and they were arguing with each other and they had to get from one end to the other. And a lot of people hated it because at the end of the story, Aang was sitting here like, hey, so the reason why you guys are fighting is because the rulers that you were talking about, they were just kids and they disagreed on a game. You gotta move past it. And, again, I know a lot of people say or have a lot of hate for that episode, but personally, I feel like that episode specifically connects to that story because, again, it's focusing on two children, getting into a disagreement. Bunch of adults are sitting here keeping the argument going, but then the children let it go. And I feel like maybe not every conflict in our lives, but I feel like a lot of conflicts can be resolved if you let go.
Mhm. Yeah.
Also, also, part of the genius behind it, or behind Avatar: Last Airbender, this is the only other connection I was able to make, was the main character, Aang, he's still a kid. And there's so many people who are sitting here like, hey, you need to be this, you need to be adults about this. You're the Avatar. You're basically the one. You're the one who's supposed to do all this. And it's all, being like, hey, you've got to grow up. You've got to, you got to be a soldier. You've got to, but yet he defeated one of the biggest evils in the show. And all he did was, like, I mean, yes, he did kind of beat him up and steal his power, but throughout the entirety of the show, he still did it like a child would. Instead of going on full-blown fights, he used reasoning, he used a child's thoughts. And I felt or I feel like that is one of the best connections I can make pertaining to this. But
Yeah.
the whole idea of adults needing to think like kids for certain aspects, I completely agree with. It even comes down to some of the some of the people who are considered to be some of the best people in the world. Mr. Rogers, Robin Williams, those kinds of people. If you ever go through what they've done, they're like, yes, they're adults and they're talking to people like adults, but they do have that child mentality to what they're doing. Like whenever Mr. Rogers is going through his, you know, with his lessons, he's not going through this like, okay, you're an adult, so you need to go through this, this, this. No, he's sitting here looking at this in the same way a child would. I mean, granted, I haven't seen any episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm mainly basing this off of the movie It's a Wonderful Day or It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. By the way, phenomenal movie. Just gonna let that go. And
Yeah.
like I said, you have these people who, if you ever go online and you see these things about some of the best people in the world, they're there. You've got Steve Irwin, you've got Robin Williams, uh, again, Mr. Rogers, Steve Burns from Blue's Clues. You get all of these different people, and if you ever look at why they're so good, it's because, yes, they're adults, and yes, they use adult reasoning, but they also look at things in a child's point of view. Like, for example, you know, Steve from Blue's Clues. If you were an adult initially watching Blue's Clues, you're sitting here thinking, this, this guy's childish. He's a child. But, for our generation, because Blue's Clues was running as we were growing up, over time we realized that the way he was acting, it wasn't just that he was entertaining us, but he was showing us that we can look at things not just from the viewpoint of an adult, who's using all logic and reasoning, but we can look at things with, in the viewpoint of children who are innocent and uh something else. They're innocent and they're more creative. That's one of the things I like to do when I'm creating lessons. Now, I don't do this all the time because, I'm still there to teach. But if there's something that I want to create like a fun lesson for, I like to look at it in the viewpoint of my students. It's like, okay, what would I what would my students find fun? Because, if we went off of what I thought, yeah, as an adult, what I thought would be fun, I honestly like writing down essays. But that's not everyone. So, again, you gotta revert back to that, like what you were saying. And I know this is kind of a tangent from what you were talking about. You're talking about letting things go, but I'm just gonna extend the whole childlike mentality. Because what the one thing children have that adults don't is that they have the sense of wonder and the idea that everything is new to them. You ever have that situation where a kid asks you so many questions? It's not because they're trying to be annoying, it's because they're trying to be curious. Which is part of the reason why I feel like we need to listen to kids more often than we do. Because, they're learning things.
Yeah,
And sometimes the things that they see that they're learning are things that, you know, adults will look at and be like, oh, this is normal. And they'll be like, no, this isn't normal. This is what a bad guy does. Bad guys are bad.
that's true.
No, but anyway, so what I'm trying to say is I completely agree with you on the whole. Sometimes we need to start thinking like children. And again, like you said, not in that full-blown tantrum phase of, oh, I didn't get what I want, so I'm gonna scream and pout. Because all you're doing is you know, you're showing that you don't have any coping mechanisms for not getting what you want.
Yeah.
You're, hmm?
Also, side note on that, because I think some adults today act more like children than actual children.
Yes.
Just putting that out there.
So that's the other thing I was wanting to point out. So when we're talking, or at the very least when I'm talking about how sometimes you need to think more like a child, I'm not meaning acting more like a child. You know, like you're still an adult. You have to do adult things. But, you know, like for example, as an adult, you do still have to pay taxes. Taxes suck. We all have to do them. Even you completely rich people uh who are sitting here like, oh, I don't have to pay taxes. I just have to write off this painting I auctioned off.
someone is paying for something. If something is free to you, someone is paying for it.
Again, capitalism. But no, but in all seriousness, as adults, we all have to do these things. But just because you have to do these things doesn't mean you can't do things that a child would find fun. Like, you know, I still play games. I still play games with my family. I still like watching kids movies. I
Mhm.
mean, kids movies are great. There's a new kids movie out now called The Wild Robot. I want to see that in theaters.
Oh, yeah, I've seen a couple trailers for that. That looks pretty cool.
It is one of the few movies that is coming out this year that when watching the trailer, I got goosebumps. But anyway,
Yeah. Oh, also, kids movies.
yes,
Kids movies.
kids. Because a lot of these kids movies do have like strong themes, which, you know, I may talk about in a future episode because I have these ideas pertaining to kids shows and kids shows. But anyway, going back to it, as adults, we still have to be adult about it. We still have to go and work. We still have to pay bills. And although you know, nowadays housing is a lot more expensive, and nowadays we have people like full-grown adults who are normalizing living with their parents. There's still some adult things we have to do. We can't all just stick with being children or stick
Yeah.
with the mentality of children.
Yeah.
And
You have to learn. You have to learn to provide for yourself before you can provide for other people,
yes. hmm
even if
But
they even if it isn't your own family.
hmm yes, but even with that, again, children have that sort of innocence to them and that sort of curiosity to them
Mhm.
where not only will they look at things in a different light and ask questions about it, which again is why I feel we should listen to kids. They've got a viewpoint of, well, why are we doing this? Whereas we've gone through this all in our lives already. But they also have it where something happens. It might be a big deal in the moment, but they let it go. They're just like Elsa. They let it go. They let it go.
Oh.
But no, like I said, they let it go. And sure, it might come back later on when it happens again, but the past is the past.
But the
I feel like
storm
this.
rages on.
Yes.
See what I did
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. I feel like this is a topic that we could actually bring back in future episodes because although there is like a specific thing to talk about, there is so much to this conversation that we can add on to. And
Oh yeah,
unfortunately,
definitely.
yeah, and unfortunately, we do have a time frame in order to do what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be interesting too if our subscribers, whether on YouTube or Spotify, can join in on this discussion because we would like to hear your takes on it.
Yes,
And
please.
both of us are interested to get different viewpoints on this because it can create more interesting discussions that way because we're just talking our own viewpoints.
Yeah.
And if you want to say whether you agree or disagree with us, then type it out. It could be, a discussion point for another episode.
And by all means, I mean, like Jake said, go ahead, go on to the comment section. I know YouTube automatically has a comment section, and we've arranged it so that Spotify also has a comment section. Feel free to let us know what your thoughts on any of our conversations, not just this one, just so that we can have, in the future, we could possibly go back to conversations like this and be like, hey, so you know how we were talking about this? Well, this person brought up something that I felt needs to be talked about in this. And like I said, this is a conversation that we can go back to again and again and again because there's so much to this topic. But like I said, we do have uh a time limit. So Jake, any closing thoughts considering it is your topic?
Yeah, just think of the phrase, little girls are wiser than men.
Yes.
Always carry child mentality. Some of the greatest lessons we've learned in our time was during our adolescence. So
Hmm. Yep. I mean, I will not say that just because my sister will hold it over my head, but I completely agree. All right. Anything else you want to add?
nope.
Nope. All
So
right.
what do you want to talk about?
Good question. We'll find this out once we're back. And this is just showing I'm not prepared for a conversation. My conversation was the Christmas thing, and I started it too soon. So we'll see what happens. We'll be back. And we're back for our final topic of the evening. And this topic I've wanted to talk about for so long, not gonna lie. So, as you know, Halloween's around the corner. And what is something that is a staple of Halloween? Or was a staple and now is like a common everyday thing? I'm
The
asking you that
candy?
question. What?
Okay. I was thinking suspense, but the candy?
No, not the candy. Although I would love to have those pumpkins year round. Those pumpkins are
Well,
great.
you're talking about the candy corn
I
pumpkins?
am talking about the candy corn pumpkins.
Okay.
I don't know why, but they're so good. No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
they're
See, it is zombies.
say that again?
Zombies.
Oh, okay. I thought
What'd
you
you think
said
I said?
something I couldn't understand at first, but
Uh, nope, I'm talking about
continue.
nope, I'm talking about zombies. And it's because I so growing up, I wasn't a big horror fan. I will say now I do enjoy a lot of horror films. But the one thing I enjoyed most was zombies. And I don't understand why I chose that, but it's just a fun thing to talk about. So I'm just going to spend this next however much time we have talking about zombies. Like, for example, did you know that zombie is actually a copyrighted term?
I did not know that. That's
Mhm.
interesting.
Right. I mean, granted, we're not going to get that copyright issue that I'm aware of just because we're saying the word. We're not like using it to market anything. But that's the reason why you get a lot of these shows that instead of saying zombies, they'll say like clickers or the
The
undead
Walking
or
Dead.
walkers. Yeah,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And it's because the word zombies to talk about this group of beings is actually a copyrighted word. And you would not
How long has
believe, huh?
how long has that been the case?
That has been the case, I think, since the 1930s.
Wow. Okay.
So we got 10 more years. We've got 10 more years, and then we'll get a lot more zombie related things.
Technically, wait, if it was 1930s. Okay.
Mhm. But
Isn't the exact year like 1930 or is it
it's
around?
somewhere around there.
Okay.
I don't think it's exactly 1930. No, but
Okay.
anyway, you would not believe who currently has the rights to the word zombie.
Marvel?
Never mind, you could definitely believe it. Yep. But Marvel has the copyright for the word zombie.
The reason I know about this for the record is because I know there's like a series called Marvel Zombies.
So that's going to be part of the topic or part of what I'm going to discuss today. But there are
Wow,
so many, but there's so many different kinds of zombies in media. And it seems like each thing you watch, there's a different version. Like, do you know who the O, and I know this is going to make a lot of people, you know, cringe. Do you know who the OG zombie was?
The Mummy?
Who?
The Mummy? You know, like zombies but
That
wrapped in toilet
that's
paper.
not fair. That one doesn't count because that's a completely separate entity.
Are we sure about that?
We're gonna say it is because it, well, technically speaking, yes, because
Mummies are zombies that got TP'd in the in
so
back in the time of the Egyptians.
so I think that one is unofficial or unofficially the first zombie. I mean, technically every mythology has some form of zombie, some way, shape, or form.
Or Mummy.
That's Egyptians zombies. But no, but anyway, the original zombie in fiction, not mythology, fiction, was Frankenstein's monster.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Although,
Well, because zombies not necessarily like although nowadays we view zombies as brains. I'm gonna eat your brains and flesh, rotting corpses. But zombies aren't always that. Zombies are mainly, if you look at every iteration, they are the undead. They rose from the dead in physical form with rotting flesh and uh rotting flesh and gray skin and for the most part no recollection of what happened to them. But so Frankenstein's monster was the original zombie.
okay.
And he is he is what is considered to be the furthest thing from a current zombie that we could think of. Because, yes, he did come back to life. But nowadays, again, we've got, zombies that will eat people. Zombies that, if you get bitten by them, you end up turning into one. You've got, zombies that don't speak, mainly. And if you ever read the book, uh, Frankenstein, a modern Prometheus, as time goes on in the book, Frankenstein's monster actually goes through and starts talking as he learns. Sorry, I feel like Frankenstein's monster is the most misunderstood monster of all of them because a lot of media points him out as this like like your typical barbarian, like an undead barbarian. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes he'll have a coherent thought, but usually it's grunts, he's afraid of fire, stuff like that. But in the original book, he was brought back to life and he becomes more and more sophisticated, more and more human as the book goes on. I'm sure one of these days I'm going to just talk about the book in general because it is one of my favorite books to read. But going back to zombies, there are so many different types of zombies, and there's so many different media types that have zombies in them. Like, for example, I have a running app on my phone where you're basically listening to an audio story and your music as if you were in a zombie apocalypse. And And there's that. You have movies such as, Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, Night of the Living Dead, which is arguably one of the most well-known zombie movies, I
Yeah.
would think. You've got those. You've got TV shows like The Walking Dead that have zombies.
There's also the video games that have
Hmm.
zombies in them. The first one, the first major one. I know some people are gonna say Call of Duty because they
Resident
usually
Evil.
have. Yep, Resident Evil
Resident Evil.
is one of those games I always think of when you're talking about zombies in video games. Except they're not called zombies. They're called like parasites.
I think
I
so.
think I well I know there's a virus that
Hmm.
like causes like the whole up outbreak and whatnot. In fact, since I'm talking about it now, I might as well look up the actual term real quick. It's been a while since I've dug into the lore of Resident Evil.
Hmm.
Um, but and I have not played any of the games, but
Right.
but I do know of the lore behind most of them.
Hmm.
Let's see. Okay, so some of them are called zombies, but they have a list of zombie types I'm gonna look up
Hmm.
real quick because there are different types.
Yeah, I was actually gonna get to that. So there
Yeah.
a lot of these different a lot of these different medias have different types of zombies. I think one of the most prominent ones in the movie Zombieland 2, they actually had it where the zombies evolved from the first movie, which is understandable because zombies had 10 years. And there were four different types of zombies that were mentioned. You had your Homer Simpsons, which are basically your typical zombie, dumb, mainly grunting, stuff like that. Not necessarily going to hurt a fly, but still something to watch out for. Then you have your ninjas, your silent but deadly zombies, which I think zombies like that are the scariest ones in any form of media. They're the ones that you can't hear them, they lurk in the shadows, and they will hunt you if anything happens. And then they have Einsteins, which are like, or they're your intelligent ones. They're the ones that will look at what happens and retain that information and learn from this. And then, the big one that was introduced are the T1000s, where they come back. Like, no matter how many times you try to knock them out, they come back again and again and again, just like the T1000. No, but like I said, there's what?
Oh no, nothing. Continue.
You're still looking at that list of types, right?
Yeah.
All right. But no, like I said, I I don't know why it is, but zombies are fascinating to me. Just the idea that, you know, there are people who will, or there are people who died and then came back to life, or there are people who were bitten by these people and became, infected by them and became zombies themselves. And again, there's so many things these days that have zombies. There's like this restaurant in Wisconsin, or not Wisconsin, in Iowa, and I don't remember what it's called. I've only eaten there once, and that was maybe a decade ago. But there was a zombie themed restaurant that I thought was pretty cool. There are not only haunted houses and escape rooms based off of like zombie virus, but there are 5Ks, like 5K races that have it where you can sign up as a runner or you can sign up as a zombie. Though I'm not
That's
gonna lie,
fine.
I want to run those so bad, but there are none of them in the area.
Wow.
Yep. And it's not even like it's like your typical culture shock where it's like, oh, this happened and it's gonna go away. No, like there have been a lot of zombie type stories, especially within the past 30 some years. And a lot of different, there's a lot of different what there's a lot of different franchises that have utilized the idea of zombies. Like what Jake mentioned earlier, Marvel specifically has a comic series called Marvel Zombies, which takes place in an alternate universe. Basically, everyone with a superpower is a zombie, and they're trying to go into different dimension or different universes to eat more people with superpowers. There are some really gruesome panels from that series, by the way.
I
And
bet.
prob
I have not read the series. I've only heard like passing mentions about it.
right. Oh, speaking of Marvel Zombies, Disney is currently in production of a Marvel Zombies TV series.
Now that sounds cool.
Hmm?
I just hope they don't botch it
So
because
they actually, this will be the second time Marvel Zombies will or has been used in the media. The first time was, I think, 2021 was when it released. When they released their What If TV series. One of their episodes was a Marvel Zombies episode. Which, by the way, going back to Marvel, name the one Marvel character who at this point cannot be a zombie. There's one.
Vision.
Nope, not Vision. Oh, I mean, technically, Vision can't be a zombie because he's an android, but it's comics. Odds are he could still become a zombie.
Okay. So Thor.
Not Thor.
Okay. Let's
Although I
see.
will say, Zombie Thor sounds scary.
It would be. Who you said who would not become a zombie?
Yes. Now, he has become a zombie in the past, but nowadays, because of his popularity, he legally cannot be a zombie.
Oh, wait. So so what you're saying is he was a zombie in the comics, but in the media he's not allowed to be.
No, he's no longer to be, or he's not allowed to be a zombie in the comics anymore either.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is,
So is it Spider-Man?
it is Spider-Man, the most
Okay.
famous Marvel character.
Yeah, and he was even on the front cover of one of the Marvel Zombies.
Yeah.
So,
At the beginning of Marvel Zombies, he was a zombie. And I think it was up until Tobey Maguire became Spider-Man. I think that was the point when Marvel's like, hey, we can turn any of them into zombies, but we can't do it to Spider-Man because too many people love him. But like I said,
not,
there
it's
are.
okay.
Hmm?
I was gonna say the next Spider-Man story is after Gwen Stacy's death. He has found no purpose in his life, so he eventually deteriorates and finds out he cannot be dead, so he becomes a zombie. Boom.
You, you know what? You and I are going to take a trip to New York so that we can pitch that to Marvel. They're going to reject us, but we got to pitch that to Marvel.
Hey, people try to make a something with Batman Beyond, and still nothing has come out of that yet. So
That is a completely separate topic that we're going to take a little bit of time to discuss. So
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, right? They're the ones who have control of, the DC movies, and they've got control over Godzilla and King Kong, those types of movies, right? Tell me why in the last, I think it's 3 years, or as far as I know, the last 3 years, they have made a Batgirl movie, a Wile E. Coyote movie where Wile E. Coyote sues Acme, and a Looney Tunes space musical. And they showed it to audiences, and audiences loved it, and they wrote it off and decided to pitch the idea. And
Mhm.
then to add on to this, they were pitched the idea of a Batman Beyond movie, like what Jake was saying, with the original creators of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, specifically the animators to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So we could have gotten a Spider-Verse style Batman Beyond film, art-wise, and they said no. Why did they say no? I know we were talking earlier about how money basically runs the world, but stuff like that would bring up a lot of money. So many people would go buy tickets, maybe several times just to see it.
Yeah. Maybe people our generation and the generation before that will see it. I don't know any of the other generations because like now I want to say I would very much like to see a Batman Beyond movie because I love the Batman Beyond series.
Yes.
Um, but I would still like to see it either way. But I'm just saying that like, you know, older audiences maybe not so much would like to see it, although you never know. And younger kids is a maybe.
So,
They may not even think of the story. They might think it's the coolest thing they ever seen. Just like
mhm.
Into the Spider-Verse. It's just like, oh, well, look at all the colors.
Shapes and colors. So many
It,
shapes
it,
and
it, it'd be their first LSD trip. You cannot disagree with me on that.
Now, hold on. How do you know what an LSD trip looks like, Jake? Are you hiding something from me?
Simple, simple. You want to know why?
Don't
Because I
say you're
watched
Batman.
Willie. I
Don't
was gonna
say it.
say Willy Wonka. I wasn't gonna say that. I was gonna say because I've seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, specifically
Okay.
that one scene through the tunnel.
There's no real way of knowing which direction we are going.
But I guess it's because I'm Batman.
No. Dang it. You know what this means? It means I have to be Robin. And I'm sorry, but I feel like I'd be Tim Drake out of all the Robins.
Fair enough.
He So in my mind, Tim Drake out of, you know, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, or Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, out of those four, Tim Drake is the worst. He's not he's not bad. He is not bad. He's a great detective, but out of the four, I'd pick Tim Drake last. It's just Dick Grayson's way too athletic for me. Uh Jason Todd is too dark and broody for me. And Damian Wade is too stabby stabby for me.
What did you say about Dick Grayson?
He's too athletic. Although I will
Oh.
say, I could totally rock the hair and one specific feature that Jake and I joke around about.
I was gonna subtly mention that a little bit.
Yeah,
It's the best part about Dick Grayson, y'all. Dick
yeah,
Grayson.
yeah,
The GOAT.
yes. Nick Grayson, the GOAT.
Mhm.
But anyway, going
Yeah,
back
but
to what's that?
we were talking about Batman Beyond and zombies.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go back to zombies. Not because I don't want to talk about Batman Beyond, but I feel like Batman Beyond itself would be a full conversation for another episode.
Mhm.
So anyway, back to zombies. The other key thing about different zombies in media is they come from different things. Like, sometimes it's a curse. You and your people have been cursed, where you would become the undead and terrorize people. Like in Paranorman. I'm pretty sure Paranorman's was a curse of some type.
I I I don't think I've ever watched Paranorman. I remember it,
I would highly recommend
but
it. It is
yeah.
one of those claymation, like stop motion films. And I'm not a big fan of those just
Yeah,
because the imagery for those it's unsettling. But Paranorman is one of the ones I will recommend.
yeah. You know what's another stop motion film that I
What?
really like that is Halloween themed and has zombies in it is has to do with the bride.
The Corpse
Um
Bride?
Corpse Bride. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Love
That
that
that's
movie.
another one. That's another one I will recommend.
Mhm.
No, but anyway, oh, so each of these zombies come from different things. You will have that. You will have zombies that come from the spores. I think that one's The Last of Us.
Okay.
You'll have, again, people who got bit by them. You'll have Patient Zero who just got it randomly. He ate
Mhm.
one too many bats and ended up becoming a zombie. Uh, and I always hear these, and the one thing that I don't hear any of when it comes to zombies, why can't we have it where the zombie virus comes not from a disease, but from a cure for a disease?
That'd be interesting.
hmm That's actually something I've thought about. So I once had an idea for a movie. It was during COVID when I had this idea. And the basic idea was you have these three brothers, and each of them have different lives during COVID. And as time goes on, or when I say through COVID, I mean through a disease that is potentially harmful. And this one will be very much harmful to any age. But anyway, so as time goes on, one of the brothers gets the disease and he goes to the hospital because he's dying, and he gets to be one of the first patients to get the cure, other than the test subjects. Well, come to find out, that cure, and this is something I came up with, that cure had a specific ingredient in it that ended up causing people to become these zombies. So the zombie virus was not caused by a disease, but it was caused by a cure. But like I said, you never hear about that. You hear more, oh, zombie apocalypse. Yeah, they just showed up. They dug themselves out of the ground. Oh, yeah, little Timmy, patient zero. He ate one too many tacos from Taco Bell. Yeah, we didn't know they were radioactive either. We also didn't know that it took 200 tacos from Taco Bell at one time to become a zombie. But apparently, when all of your insides go out, that happens.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Radioactive tacos from Taco Bell. That should be their next menu item for Halloween. Speaking of which, this video is brought to you by Taco Bell.
No, we're not. No, we
Live,
are
live
not.
Moss. Live Moss. Through the unliving.
Uh, right. No, but like I said, there's so many different ways to become or to become a zombie. What are you gonna say?
I was I was thinking of another Taco Bell advertisement, but you know the Chihuahua dog?
Yes.
He's come back from the dead. They haven't used him in how many years?
So many years. So many years. All right. That that's how Taco Bell will get you with the radioactive
I'm
tacos.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I just had to say it. So
No, that
continue.
was perfect. It was perfect. But anyway, there's so many ways to become a zombie, and yet there only seems to be three different ways or three main ways to kill a zombie. Specifically, the one key thing, shot through the head or decapitation. Basically, take the head off. Because then you sever the brainstem and they die that way. There's that. I have heard or I've seen where they die through fire. I don't understand that one. I understand that one, but not fully.
I thought most zombies were resistant to fire, or I guess it depends on the medium.
It depends on the medium. It
I
depends
mean,
on the medium.
Call of Duty has fire zombies going out to you at every turn. So
That honestly sounds like a great rock band name. Fire Zombies. We are Fire Zombies. All right, that's our band name, Jake. We need to find a drummer and we need to find a guitarist. So I'm pretty sure you can play keyboard, and I can't sing, but I will try. I've been going to karaoke, so I've been practicing.
it's okay. I think what we'll
What's that?
do what we'll do
Hmm.
is we form the band, we do a Halloween theme song, but it be in the style of Taylor Swift.
Oh no. Oh no.
The most
Oh, Taylor.
horrifying thing to the most horrifying thing known to man out there.
Hmm. A Swifty.
It, uh, Swifty zombies. That's it's the Swifty fans, but they're zombies.
I could have sworn there was a movie with that premise. I don't remember what movie it is.
Really?
I I'm serious. I thought there was something where some some fans end up becoming zombies. Some reason. I don't know. I could be wrong, but there should be. I'm sure there's a film like that. I'm sure. I mean, if there's a film where you become a zombie through an energy drink,
Mhm.
then there's bound to be a film where, like, a boy band ends up finding out that their music turns people into zombies.
Actually, speaking of that, there is that Gravity Falls episode where it's like the first episode of season two. For the record, one of my favorite series ever. To
Next to
watch it on
Ninjago.
any day.
Next to
Yeah.
Ninjago. And
But
VeggieTales.
okay, that's on a different league. But no, Gravity Falls is a great show, especially to watch on Halloween. But season two, episode one, Dipper tries to prove that the book that he has is real to like these agent guys who are not believing him. And so he raises the dead.
You never do that.
Not intentionally. He was reading like whatever spell came up on the first page, and he just so happened to find the one that just raised people from the dead, and they couldn't like fight these zombies.
Hmm.
Except there was a weakness to defeating the zombies, and that was through a loud noise, which they accomplished by singing obnoxiously through like mics and speakers,
Oh, so
and the zombies' heads explode.
they're alien symbiotes from Spider-Man, basically. Loud noise. You
Yeah,
seem
except I don't think they're as smart as Venom though. Well, except for the zombies that were humans beforehand, like right beforehand, because one of
okay.
their companions got turned into a zombie, and they were able to cure him with like I think it was like some sort of salt and cinnamon type bases. I
Ooh.
dropped it down to like um, it's kind of like the process of mummifying a person, when they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did this for a history thing once when I did like history in grade school. We mummified a chicken. We still have that mummified chicken somewhere
All
in the
right, Jake.
closet.
Know what we're gonna
Not,
do?
not, okay, okay. It wasn't a chicken that was decapitated right afterwards. It was, it's those chickens that you use for cooking, that you find at the
Oh
supermarket. So they're already headless. They already have the feathers taken off and whatnot.
no, we're gonna see if it works anyway. Jake, you and
Yeah,
we're gonna find a way to plug a car battery to it, shock it, and see if it comes back to life. Or at the very least, make a really good meal out of it.
yeah. I don't know if you would want to eat that chicken though. It's been,
Eh, wor-
I don't know.
worst comes
I
to
don't know
worst, I
how.
become a zombie. It's a win-win.
Yeah, but we wrapped it in toilet paper and we put cinnamon and spices all around it.
All right, cool. So it looks like we're just about out of time. Just a uh, quick go around. I'm personally a big fan of zombies. A lot of, I've got a lot of zombie, not items, but I've got zombie cookbooks, or a zombie cookbook that works as a survival guide. I run to zombies. I watch a lot of zombie films. I listen to Rob Zombie. I mean, come on, that's got to be something. But zombies are so simplistic and yet so interesting, and I feel like zombies would be something that we would bring up in a later episode.
Maybe in a Halloween episode.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe in the Halloween episode we'll talk about serial killers. Wink, wink.
Okay, that actually sounds way more scary than zombies.
All right. So with
Because I know for me, I've done my digging of like searching for serial killers. So
cool.
there's something that both of us kind of have some knowledge of.
Some, oh man, prepare for that. But that is in 2 weeks. So for now, we will end this week's audio. So with that, I'm Professor Dean,
I'm Dr. Green.
and we wish you a good night. And for all of you out there dealing with the hurricane stuff, please stay safe. We don't want anyone to get hurt physically. Mentally is okay. All right. Have a good night.
Good night.